They laugh when you don't react. They roll their eyes when you stay calm. They think your silence is weakness because you didn't scream, didn't argue, didn't chase. But what they don't see is what's building behind that silence. Discipline, clarity, leverage. You're not too nice. You're observing, you're strategizing, and while they're wasting energy trying to look powerful, you're becoming it, quietly. Because here's the truth no one teaches you. Silence doesn't mean you're losing. Sometimes it means you've already won, without wasting a single word. Think about it. They ignore you now. Let them. They underestimate you. Let them, because the more they assume you're soft, the more unprepared they'll be for the version of you that doesn't ask for respect, but moves in ways that make them give it. Ever been overlooked just because you didn't make noise? Ever been doubted simply because you chose peace over performance? Stay with me, because what's coming next isn't noise. It's not revenge. It's not ego. It's a reminder that stillness can shake the loudest rooms. And sometimes, the most silent moves make the deepest impact. This isn't a video about clapping back. It's not about revenge. And it's definitely not about becoming loud just to be heard. It's about something deeper. The art of silent dominance. Because here's the problem most people face. They feel disrespected, so they react. They feel underestimated, so they over-explain. They feel ignored, so they chase validation. But the more you react, explain, chase, the more you prove their point. And slowly, you stop being you. You start becoming a version of yourself that constantly needs to be seen, just to feel worthy. That ends here. In this video, you'll learn 10 silent actions that flip the script, without ever raising your voice. No drama, no self-abandonment, no emotional games, just pure, calm, confident movement. That makes the people who once dismissed you start wondering how they missed your power. And if you stay till the end, I'll share the one mindset shift that turns every disrespect into fuel for your elevation, not by forcing them to change, but by becoming so aligned, they have no choice but to notice. Let's begin. Meet Leo. He doesn't speak much, not because he's shy, but because he's learned that most people listen to reply, not to understand. At work, they call him the quiet one. At family dinners, he gets talked over. In relationships, he's told to open up more, even though no one ever really asks what he's holding in. But Leo is paying attention. He sees how people move. He reads the room, and when others scream just to feel heard, he listens and remembers. What they don't know is, Leo isn't weak. He's just refusing to waste energy, proving things to people who've already made up their minds. And the more they underestimate him, the stronger he gets. Not louder, stronger, more focused, more grounded, until one day, the same people who dismissed him start coming to him for answers, for insight, for calm, because when the storm came, they panicked, and Leo, he stayed still. Just like Leo, you don't have to perform to be powerful. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one holding the most strength, and now it's time to show it, without words. Let's begin with action. For one, speak less, move sharper. Every time they push your buttons, you feel the urge to respond, to explain, to defend, to say, that's not true. Here's what really happened. Let me clarify. But here's the trap. The more you talk, the less they listen. Not because your words don't matter, but because in the eyes of those who've already decided you're irrelevant, every word you speak becomes fuel for their narrative. They twist your tone, mock your reasoning, or worse, use your words against you, and suddenly, you're not in a conversation. You're in a performance, begging for validation you don't even need. The Stoics had a rule. Don't waste speech where clarity is not welcome. Silence wasn't weakness to them. It was a weapon, a way to hold dignity even when disrespected. So here's your shift. Stop narrating your worth. Start letting your presence say it all. Because when your words shrink, your actions grow. Try this. The next time someone tries to bait you, pause. Hold your reply. Tilt your head, smile, just slightly, and walk away. No explanation, no argument, no follow-up text, just sharp, intentional silence. Because those who try to provoke you don't know what to do when you refuse to perform. They expect noise. They expect defense. Give them clarity instead. Clarity that you no longer owe them any part of your peace, and let them sit with that. Sometimes the loudest response is to say nothing and level up in silence. Action number 2, master your walk-away energy. Most people don't walk away because they're weak. They stay in draining conversations, in one-sided friendships, in jobs that kill their spirit, in rooms where they're only half welcome. Why? Because they think walking away means they lost. But the truth is, staying in spaces that shrink you, that's the real loss. Every time you stay where you're being drained, you teach your nervous system that disrespect is familiar, that being unseen is acceptable, that silence is safer than self-worth. The Stoics weren't about forcing control. They were about choosing where to place energy. Epictetus said, "If someone does not value reason, it is not your duty to persuade them." Translation? It's not your job to fix their perception or chase their attention or keep showing up where you have to shrink just to fit. Here's your shift. Stop staying just to prove you're not afraid to leave. Start leaving to prove to yourself that you know what you're worth. Try this. When something feels off, not dramatic, just off, ask yourself, if I walked away right now, would I lose power or gain it back? Then trust your answer, because real confidence isn't walking in with noise. It's knowing you can walk out without losing your peace. No announcement, no drama, no final speech, just presence, stillness, and the kind of walk that makes people realize they didn't lose you loudly, they lost you quietly, and that hits harder. Action number 3. Let results talk louder than explanations. You try to explain your dream, they don't get it. You share your plan, they poke holes. You tell them what you're building, and all they see is who you used to be. So you start defending it, breaking it down, over-explaining to people who never cared to understand in the first place. But here's the hard truth. Some people don't lack clarity, they lack respect. And the more you explain, the smaller you feel. You think you're helping them see the vision, but you're really just diluting it to fit minds that were never meant to carry it. The Stoics never sought approval, they sought excellence. They didn't talk about what they were doing, they just did it. And when the results came, they didn't have to say a word. Here's your shift. Stop wasting energy justifying your direction to people who've never walked that path. Start showing up quietly, building relentlessly, and letting the outcome do all the explaining for you. Try this. Next time someone doubts you, say nothing. Go work, go train, go execute, then return weeks or months later, not with words, but with results that speak louder than any pitch. Because here's what silence plus consistency does. It makes people doubt their doubts about you, not because you convinced them, but because you proved them wrong without trying to. And that's a kind of power they can't argue with. Build so well that even those who overlooked you have to look twice. Action number 4. Make peace your default, not your performance. You've probably done it. Held your breath in a meeting so you wouldn't explode. Bit your tongue at dinner so you wouldn't ruin the vibe. Forced a calm face while your thoughts were in chaos, just so no one would say you're being too emotional. That's not peace. That's performance. And here's what happens when your peace is performative. It drains you. It distances you from your truth. It creates a version of you that looks chill on the outside and feels suffocated on the inside. The E. Stoics didn't teach peace as a mask. They trained it as a muscle, not to impress others, but to protect themselves from being owned by chaos. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful than within," which means real calm isn't how you act in public. It's how quiet your mind is when no one's watching. Here's your shift. Stop making stillness a show. Start turning it into a state you carry without trying. Try this. Build a daily ritual, not for productivity, but for presence. That could be a 3-minute breathing reset before you answer texts, a moment of silence before meetings, not scrolling, a written reminder each morning. Nothing external controls my state. And when life hits hard, because it will, don't just act calm. Be still. Listen. Respond from the space you train daily, not the mood you caught impulsively. Because here's the truth. Pretending to be peaceful is exhausting, but living from peace, that's freedom. Let others perform. Let them chase. You. Practice, and when the moment comes, you won't need to fake strength. You'll be it. Action number 5. Stay unavailable for drama. They poke, they gossip, they post vague captions, they say things just loud enough for you to hear. And part of you wants to jump in, to clap back, to call them out, to show you're not the one to mess with. But here's the trap. Every time you enter their drama, you start playing a game where they pick the rules. And that game, it's rigged. You react, they feel in control. You argue, they feel seen. You post back, they know they've gotten to you. And you lose hours, energy, clarity, and most importantly, you lose your center. The Stoics had a different approach. They didn't chase chaos. They didn't match energy. They mastered their own. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish." Let them think you're weak because you didn't reply. Let them call you fake because you didn't react. Let them misread your silence, because peace doesn't need PR. Here's your shift. Stop being accessible to every toxic invitation. Start being known as someone whose energy is too valuable to waste on petty. Try this. Next time drama knocks, pause. Say this to yourself. My silence isn't submission, it's self-protection. Then do nothing. Don't text, don't post, don't defend. Just redirect your focus. Back to your goals, back to your craft, back to your joy, because when you stop showing up to the fires, they keep lighting. They eventually stop striking matches. Let them burn out. You rise, smoke-free, unbothered, and unavailable. Action, Barter 6. Be dangerously consistent. They don't take you seriously until they realize you didn't just show up once. You showed up again and again and again, not loudly, not needing applause, not needing recognition, just showing up to your work, to your habits, to your goals, to yourself. Because here's the truth. Nobody tells you. The most intimidating person in DI. The room isn't the one who talks big, it's the one who moves daily, quietly, without fail. Most people, they're sprinters of energy, motivated for a day, on fire for a week, until life hits and they fade. But you train for something else. You train for endurability, stability, presence that compounds. The Stoics weren't obsessed with moments of glory. They worshipped routine. They knew. Small moves repeated relentlessly build a life that shouts, even if you never raise your voice. Here's your shift. Stop chasing high highs. Start falling in love with showing up when it's boring, when it's cold, when no one claps. Try this. Pick one habit, the one they laughed at. Maybe it's writing every day, training at 6 a.m., eating with discipline, saying no to distractions. Now track it, not for 3 days, not for 2 weeks, but for 90 in silence. No Instagram, no announcement, just proof. Because here's what happens. People stop asking what you're about. They start watching, and even those who ignored you, they feel it. Because consistency is a language everyone understands, even when you say nothing. Build so well that they question why you never quit. Move so steadily that your momentum speaks louder than their doubt. That's power, and it's quiet, but it's undeniable. Action number 7. Choose clarity over closure. You text. They leave you on read. You ask what went wrong. They say it's complicated. You try to fix it. They vanish. They need space. They aren't ready to talk. And you're left holding all the confusion, like a puzzle that no one gave you the final piece to. So you wait. You replay conversations. You imagine what they're thinking. You rehearse what you'd say if they just gave you one more chance to talk it through. But that day never comes. And here's the brutal truth. Most closure is just a delayed realization of what you already knew. They're not coming back. They're not going to explain. And even if they did, it wouldn't make the ache go away. The Stoics didn't chase closure. They chased clarity, internal clarity, because they knew. You can't control who leaves without warning, but you can control whether you keep waiting for a conversation that will never happen. Here's your shift. Stop thinking you need their explanation to move on. Start deciding that the absence of effort is your answer. Try this. Write this down. I do not need their words to validate my experience. Say it when your mind spins. Say it when the silence feels loud. Say it until you believe that their refusal to clarify is also a form of communication. Then move. Don't just heal, build. Don't just survive. Shift, because real peace comes, not when they say sorry, but when you say, I accept what I didn't get, and I give myself the closure they never could. That's strength, that's Stoicism, and that's how you leave the door open without waiting for someone to walk back through it. Action number 8. Protect your energy like a kingdom. Think about your energy like a kingdom. Inside its walls, your focus, your peace, your vision. Outside, noise, distractions, people who drain you, even if they smile while doing it. Now ask yourself, why do you let just anyone in? They gossip, and you listen. They complain, and you absorb. They panic, and suddenly you're anxious too. But here's the Stoic truth. Not every knock deserves an open door. Every interaction is an exchange. They either give energy or they take it. And if you don't track that, you'll feel exhausted. Not because life's too hard, but because you gave access to people who didn't deserve a key. The Stoics guarded their attention like sacred fire. They didn't entertain fools, didn't argue with noise, didn't explain to those committed to misunderstanding, because they knew. Energy isn't endless, it's economy. Here's your shift. Stop confusing availability with kindness. Start treating your time and energy like royal currency. Try this. Set energetic boundaries without apology. No phone after 9 p.m. No explaining your choices to people who mock your growth. No overgiving just to keep the peace. Instead, say, my peace isn't up for negotiation. And when someone calls you cold for protecting it, smile. Because they're just upset. They no longer have free access to a kingdom they never helped build. Let them knock. Let them whine. You're too busy fueling your empire to fight small fires. Action number 9. Never prove your worth, just be it. You get overlooked, so you overperform. You feel underestimated, so you over-explain. You're not trying to be loud, you're just trying to be seen. But here's what you don't realize. The E. More you try to prove your worth, the more you teach people that it's up for debate. You post more, say more, give more, all to get what? Validation, respect, a seat at a table that was never built for someone like you. The Stoics didn't play that game. They didn't argue for their value. They embodied it. They didn't beg to be chosen. They chose themselves, with clarity, with quiet conviction, because they knew. Worth isn't loud, it's grounded. It doesn't perform, it doesn't chase, it just is. Here's your shift. Stop showing up to prove something. Start showing up because you are something. Try this. The next time you feel overlooked, don't post a highlight reel, don't craft a comeback, don't beg for credit. Just pause and say, I am the proof, my presence is enough. Then keep building, keep healing, keep moving, as if you already had the respect they withheld. Because here's what happens. When you stop trying to prove, people start to notice, not because you ask them to, but because they finally feel what you always knew. You don't need to be loud when you move like you've already arrived. Action number 10. Lead with stillness, not force. Some led by raising their voice, others lead by raising eyebrows, making demands, taking space, flexing power they barely earned. But real leadership, you feel it before it speaks. It walks in the room and shifts the air, not because it pushes people, but because it grounds them. And here's what the world doesn't teach. You don't have to force your way forward when your presence already opens doors. The Stoics didn't lead with control, they led with control of self. Calm wasn't their tactic, it was their nature. Because they knew. Stillness isn't passive, it's dangerously focused, untouchably clear, quietly certain. Stillness isn't what you do when nothing's happening. It's what you maintain when everything is. Here's your shift. Stop trying to move others by pushing harder. Start letting your alignment become your loudest influence. Try this. Next time you walk into a room, before you speak, ask, what state am I bringing in with me? Don't rush, don't overcompensate, just anchor. Because when people feel you're unshakable, they respond. Not out of fear, but out of trust, because they know you're not performing, you're not persuading, you're just leading from the core. And when you lead that way, you don't have to convince people to follow. They just feel safer standing beside you. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to fight to win. You don't have to prove to be, because the most powerful people aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who walk with clarity, act with intention, and lead with stillness. Each of these 10 actions isn't just a move, it's a commitment to rise without reaction, to build without begging, to influence without forcing. And now, it's your turn. Drop in the comments. Which of these 10 silent actions will you master this week? Let it be your signal that you're done explaining, done proving, and ready to embody everything you've always been becoming. Because Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about being so grounded that nothing outside you can shake what's true within.